All right, let's decode those blinking, maybe slightly intimidating boxes sitting in your living room or office closet right now, routers and switches. If you've ever stared at a tangled mess of cords and wondered what exactly each of those devices is actually doing, well, you are in the right place. By the end of our time together today, you're going to be a network traffic expert.
You know, it's arguably the most common question beginners have when setting up an office or trying to figure out why their internet just suddenly dropped. At first glance, they look almost identical, right? Just metal or plastic rectangles with a bunch of Ethernet ports in the back. But the answer to this question is actually incredibly simple once we visualize it, and understanding it is absolutely going to save you a massive headache the next time your Wi-Fi stops cooperating.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, neighborhoods versus highways. Second, meet the router. Third, meet the switch. Fourth, MAC versus IP addresses. And finally, your home network explained.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, Neighborhoods versus Highways.
Let's ground this highly technical topic into something we experience every single day, the city road system. Honestly, thinking about networking in terms of physical roads is the absolute best way to make it click. Imagine a switch as the paved roads entirely inside your own private neighborhood. You can use those local roads to visit your next-door neighbor without ever having to leave your subdivision. But when you want to visit an entirely different city, you can't just take the neighborhood streets, right? You need to hop on the interstate. Well, the router acts as that on-ramp to the highway. They both involve roads, and they both handle traffic, but their scope is totally different.
Which brings us to Section 2, Meet the Router.
Let's head straight to that highway entrance and unpack exactly what this device does, because it is the ultimate gatekeeper of your network. Without a router, the laptop, phone, and printer in your house could talk to each other all day long over those local roads, but they would never, ever reach Facebook, Google, or YouTube. The router is the bridge, and to be that bridge, it handles 5 really critical jobs. It connects different networks, assigns local addresses, routes your data packets along the best path, performs something called NAT, and provides a crucial layer of security. Let's look a little closer at a couple of these superpowers.
First up is DHCP, which stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. The concept here is surprisingly simple. When your phone connects to your Wi-Fi, it needs an identity. So, the router's DHCP server acts just like a city planner, handing your phone a specific, unique local IP address, something like 192.168.1.2. Without this unique house number, the network literally wouldn't know where to deliver your incoming data. But here is where it gets really clever. Job number 4, NAT, or Network Address Translation. You see, your internet service provider usually only gives your entire house one single public IP address. But inside your house, you've probably got a laptop, a smartphone, an Xbox, a smart TV. So NAT acts like a highly sophisticated mailroom. It translates all those private local IP addresses into that one single public IP address before sending the data out to the internet. And then it reverses the whole process when the data comes back. It allows all your devices to share one internet connection without totally confusing the outside world. Moving on to Section 3, Meet the Switch. Now that we've got a handle on how the router manages the highway to the internet, let's zoom back into your house and meet the local traffic manager. The most practical way to think about a switch is like a power strip, but for network connections instead of electricity. Let's say you have an office with a PC, a shared printer, and a local file server, and they all need to share files and print documents quickly and reliably. Well, a switch connects them all together in one central place. It literally creates the local network. But here's the thing. A switch isn't just a dumb splitter. It actually has a secret weapon. Every single network device in the world has a hardwired, unique physical identifier called a MAC address, which looks like that crazy string of letters and numbers. Instead of just blindly shouting your data out of every single port to every device plugged in, a switch actually learns. It keeps an internal table of exactly which MAC address is plugged into which port. So, when your PC wants to print a document, the switch looks at its table and sends your print job directly and exclusively to the printer port. Nobody else on the network gets bothered by that traffic, which makes everything incredibly fast and efficient.
That brings us to Section 4, MAC versus IP addresses.
We've seen how routers and switches work separately, so let's put these two traffic directors head-to-head to really solidify this. This comparison gets right to the heart of their internal logic. While switches use those hardwired MAC addresses to zip data efficiently to the correct local device inside the neighborhood, routers rely on IP addresses to send data to entirely different networks out on the highway. Think of the MAC address like your social security number. It never changes and it identifies exactly who you are. The IP address, on the other hand, is like your mailing address. It changes depending on where you are currently living or connected. In professional networking terminology, this distinction means they operate on entirely different OSI layers. The OSI model is just a handy framework for how data is communicated. The switch operates on layer 2, known as the data link layer, making its decisions purely on MAC addresses. The router sits above it on layer 3, the network layer, making its complex routing decisions based on IP addresses.
So, bringing this all together into the ultimate cheat sheet, notice how routers handle all the really heavy lifting for the internet. They provide the firewall, they handle the NAT translation, they assign the IPs, and typically they only have a handful of ports. Switches, on the flip side, do none of that internet translation. They don't have firewalls, they are simply designed with anywhere from 5 to 48 ports to give you way more wired local connections.
Finally, Section 5. Your home network explained.
Let's bring all this theory back to your living room and see exactly how these devices team up to get you online. If you actually trace the physical cable coming out of your wall, here is the proper flow. Step 1. The raw internet feeds directly into your router first, and that's crucial because the router provides the firewall to protect you and the NAT to translate your connection. Step 2. A single cable goes from the router down to your switch. Step 3. The switch acts as a multiplier, efficiently distributing that safe, translated connection to your hardwired PC, printer, and server. They work together perfectly in a hierarchy. Practically speaking, this answers the age-old question of what you actually need to buy at the electronics store. If you are setting up a brand new internet connection or you need to create a secure gateway with a firewall, you absolutely must buy a router. But if you already have a router and you're just expanding an office and literally ran out of physical places to plug in extra computers or smart TVs, you simply buy a switch to expand your local roads.
Listen, if you take away absolutely nothing else from this explainer today, just remember this one single golden rule. The router connects networks together. The switch connects devices together.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Take a look at your own blinking boxes today. Seriously, trace the cables. See if your local neighborhood roads are truly optimized for getting you onto the internet highway smoothly, or if adding a simple switch could clear up a major bottleneck in your home office. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. And hey, happy networking!